are you? How do you define yourself? Some of us define ourselves by our roles in relationship to other people: wife, mother, sister. Still others define ourselves by our profession. I'm a coach. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a belly dancer. And yet others define themselves by their skills or their traits. I'm great with numbers. I'm a people person. It's easy to slap on these surface labels for our identity, isn't it? It's easy until something like a brain injury changes who you are and how you define yourself. In 2008, 6 months after starting my own business, after a month of severe headaches, migraines, nausea, neck and back pain, I collapsed unconscious on my bathroom floor. By the grace of God, my husband decided to come home from work early that day, which he never does. So he was home when I collapsed and was able to call 911. And the ambulance came and whisked me away to the emergency room, where doctors discovered an unexpected brain aneurysm pumping blood into my brain's right frontal lobe. Amazing neurosurgeons, brain ninjas, as my husband likes to call them, saved my life that night. But as I lay sedated and on a ventilator, he told my husband, "Mr. Ross, we've saved her life, but we have no idea what she's going to be like coming out of this. We have no idea if she will walk, talk, function, or remember." So there it was. I had survived, but no one was sure if I would awaken with my identity intact. Spoiler alert, I did awaken. I'm standing in front of you. I had a particularly nasty type of stroke called a subarachnoid hemorrhage, and it is fatal in over 50% of cases. 10 to 15% of people never even make it to the hospital. And of those who survive, 4 out of 7 will have lifelong disabilities. I was in the hospital for about 6 weeks. I had several other complications and procedures. I was also temporarily blind due to the severity of the hemorrhage, so I had to get 2 very painful eye surgeries to restore my sight, which also came back over time. Months of rehab and therapy, years of adapting to my cognitive deficits. I finally got my strength and stamina back, got back to my business, got back to my life. Brain injury is a funny thing. Unlike other ailments, there are unseen effects. And especially when your frontal lobe is impacted, it causes cognitive impairments. So you can think of your frontal lobe as sort of the instrument panel of an elite fighter jet. It controls all of our executive functions: information processing, reasoning, short-term memory. Many of the things I needed to do my work. Many of the things that make me, me. I worked for many months and over the years worked with rehab therapists and support groups, and I learned about what was happening to me and learned strategies to adapt and overcome those deficits. Adaptation is great, but it doesn't come without pain, tears, and resistance. Just sometimes we're forced to deal with it faster than we'd like, because crisis is funny like that. So here I was, struggling to get back to the old me and failing miserably. And all because of how I chose to identify myself. But I'm a master multitasker. I can take on complex projects in a single bound. Well, not anymore. See, my processor filter was broken, and so I get way more overwhelmed than I used to. But I'm spontaneous and flexible. Yes, but because of the damage to my brain, sometimes my brain can't adapt as automatically as it used to. And so a planned schedule is my best friend. I always have to know what to expect, or it causes anxiety and worry. But I'm a go-getter. Yes, that's true, but depression and loss of initiation are actually 2 common causes of brain injury. And this type A, straight A, Energizer Bunny couldn't figure out at the beginning why I couldn't get up off the couch to do one simple household task. Physically, I could see my identity had changed. My long curly red hair, my trademark, was completely chopped off. And when I finally regained my sight 6 weeks later and I looked in the mirror, I wept. Who was this person staring at me in the mirror? Who was I if I wasn't the feisty curly redhead anymore? Funny how we put so much into our surface identities, isn't it? So as I fought through the metamorphosis that crisis brings, the old me popped out. We saw glimpses. My moxie, my inability to accept no for an answer, my sense of humor. So was the loss of some of the other things really so bad? Brain injury can turn gentle people into aggressors. It can turn eloquent people into people who cannot speak. It can turn graceful people into socially unacceptable pariahs because they can't control what they're doing or saying in public. So if this happens, if your personality and your skills can be altered by a jolt to your brain, what does that mean for our identity? Who are we really? Is it something deeper? In my search to adapt and reclaim my identity, 3 keys popped out that I want to share with you today. The first was patience. Now, I'm a redhead and an Italian, so that's not in my vocabulary. But you have to learn that patience is all about taking small steps to success. It's the upward trajectory that matters, not the size of the strides. Patience does not equal stagnation. It's all about progress. 2, acceptance. I kept fighting to get back to the old me, to get back to the old baseline. But I used to be able to do this way. I used to be able to do this much faster. Till finally a therapist kind of smacked me upside the head and said, forget about what you used to be able to do. It's about what you can do now. Focus on your strengths, not your deficits. It's much more efficient to adapt to your obstacles and to figure out how to get around them than beat your head against the wall. And if you have to find a new path to get to your goals, who cares? It's all about the destination. And finally, find the humor. People might think you're being inappropriate, but I tell you, who cares? Whatever. My husband and my family and my friends used humor even in the darkest times to help them cope. My husband and I still joke about my brain exploding, and I tell him he can't piss me off because I might have another aneurysm. But humor is such a great coping mechanism. It clears our minds. It lowers our blood pressure. It helps us think clearly and problem solve. All this personal growth and self-discovery doesn't have to be so serious, ladies. Let's lighten up. Let's enjoy the journey. Let's find the humor in ourselves. Many of the labels that I prided myself on faded away. But again, I saw the old me emerging, the humor, the fight, the moxie. Those helped get me through. And that's actually much more core to my story, isn't it? Someone once told me, people will forget what you do, but they will never forget the way you made them feel. And I live by that. Our skills, our roles, those are all external. Those will all change and morph and fade away. But how you approach life and how you treat others, that's what remains. I'd much rather define myself as someone who can find God in a redwood grove, or who believes that dogs have beautiful souls, because they do. Or someone who's quick with a laugh or a hug, or someone who has forgiven more times than I've been hurt. Whether I can manage a complex project or not, or remember people's names well at a networking event, that really doesn't matter. So my challenge to you is this. Find ways to use your everyday adversity and challenges to reframe the conversation with your life, with your work, and with yourselves. The external will always change and fade, but your core, your essence, that's your identity. That's what remains. Find that. Define that. Hold fast to that when crisis knocks you over. Make that your legacy. Thank you.